This thing live? Thing like froze up on me for a second. I was like, what the crap is going on here? What's going on, guys? How's everybody doing this fine Monday evening? Hope you guys are having a great start to the week. I wanted to jump in here real quick and talk about mindset, because mindset seems to be like the one thing that keeps people doing from what they should be doing. And it had a few interesting conversations with some individuals, actually first thing this morning, which was super dope. And I'll share a couple of those things with you guys. But dude, mindset I think it's one of those things where people think it's kind of like woo-woo stuff. Oh, sorry, guys. What's up, Beeb? You're stuck? Oh, let me see it. Here, take your hand out. My daughter's all sorts of tangled up here. You want to say hi? Come here, say hi. No. We're getting ready to go to a meetup, huh? My wife got all the kids ready. We got it. By the way, if you guys are watching, if there's anybody watching this in Alaska, we're all going to meet up and go have some pizza this evening. So, yeah, babe. No. Here, I'll give you a pen, babe. Man, here you go. The joys of parenting. You want some paper? Yeah. Okay, here you go. You're welcome, babe. The joys of parenting, guys. Look, this is a prime example right here. There's never an excuse as to why you shouldn't or why you couldn't do something. My wife actually just left for work tonight. And Jeremy, what up, dog? From Lake George, New York. Dude, I've never heard of Lake George, New York. I know Rochester, and I know Albany, and I know New York City. That's all I know about New York. Maybe it's because I live in Alaska and I'm just like so isolated from everybody else. But dude, thanks for being here, bro. Thanks for being here. I know the Chris always tells me the Queen of American Lakes. Is that right? Love that, bro. Well, you need to make it out to Alaska. We got some pretty cool lakes. Actually, fun fact about Alaska, dude. Did you know Alaska has 3 million lakes in the country, or in the state? How crazy is that? 3 million. I think there's over 3 million, as a matter of fact. Over 3 million lakes in the state of Alaska. Super crazy. So when you come here and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, we went camping over at lake," like whatever. Like it could be any lake. Like there really isn't like any significant lakes here, at least none that I know of. But super dope, man. Well, thanks for being here, man. I wanted to jump in here real quick. Like I said, I've got about 14 minutes before I've got to jump. A few of the sub 2 students up here in Alaska, we're all gonna go meet and grab some pizza together. And we've had a lot. I think we've got like 35. I think we've got 35 sub 2 students up here in Alaska now. So there's been a lot of people. And for those of you guys who don't know, like Alaska, if you were to take Alaska and put it over the entire like country, if you were to take it, remove it and put it over the entire country, it takes up a third of the United States. It is super crazy. So we've got people kind of all over the place. And especially within the last couple of weeks, we've had a handful of people join sub 2 in Alaska. So super cool. We got quite a few people that are up here that are sub 2 students that we've never met. So we're all going to go meet up and have some pizza together and hopefully put a plan together for doing some pretty neat stuff together. But in the meantime, while I had a few minutes, I wanted to get in here and jump in here real quick and talk about mindset. And I had a handful of conversations today and this morning about mindset. And actually one of those individuals, super amazing guy, he brought up, I don't know if you guys haven't seen it, I made a post sometime this weekend, I think, about my experience while I was in the Air Force. Shh. Yeah, Beeb. You want me to hold you? Yeah. Okay. Me. Yeah, Emery was getting you? Yeah. Oh my goodness. So I made a post about me being in the Air Force in 2015, actually. And there you go. Can you say hi? Say hi. No. So back in 2015, I was in the Air Force. So that's where I was going with this. Sorry. So I made this post over the weekend, and I shared kind of a story about where my mindset journey began. And this was back in 2015. And this individual that I was talking to today, he brought it up, and he's like, dude, hey, I just want to say thank you for sharing that that post about where your mindset journey began in the Air Force in 2015. And he wanted me to kind of elaborate a little bit more on it. And so I did. And it turned out to be just a really, really great conversation. So for those of you guys who haven't seen it or don't know, I figured I'd take a couple of minutes and kind of share it, because it was so impactful for me. It literally changed everything about my mindset, what I thought I was capable of, how I carried myself, etc. And so with a couple minutes that I had before we've got to run tonight. Hey, sweetie, don't touch that, please. I wanted to kind of share that with you guys a little bit, if you guys haven't seen it. But I grew up probably just like most of everybody else did, you know, when it came to thinking about money and mindset, debt, what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do, what you're capable of doing, what you're not capable of doing. Hey, sweetie, don't touch, please. And so, probably like much of you, I grew up just in an average house, in an average town. I had average friends. I went to an average school. I had average grades. I was kind of like a B/C student. Occasionally, you'd see an A. I'd get an A in PE. I love dodgeball just as much as the next guy. And that was kind of it, man. So when it came to thinking about, money, for example, money was treated like a 4-letter word. I know some of you guys have heard me say this before, but money in my house was something we did not talk about. We didn't discuss. You didn't ask anybody how much money they were making. It was something that was very private. And when I thought about how do I go make more money, I was always left with, well, you got to go to school. You got to get a job. You've got to promote. You got to work overtime. You got to do all these things. And so I remember even when I was, I think 16 or 17 years old, I went and worked at I know this is stereotypical because I grew up in Idaho, but I went and worked at a potato plant when I think I was 16 going into 17. And dude, I worked 12-hour shifts, and man, I thought I was making like $700 every 2 weeks. I was working overtime. I was bringing in, $1,400, $1,500, $1,600 a month. And I was like, dude, I'm a baller. I am living, man. This is awesome. But at the same time, like I was trading all of my time for money. But that's how I grew up thinking that you make money. That's how I grew up thinking that you get rich, is by just working. So from a very young age, I developed a very, strong work ethic. And when I graduated high school early, I switched high schools where I needed like 52 credits to graduate at this high school. And then I met my wife. My wife and I are high school sweethearts. I met her my junior year going into my senior year, and I switched schools to go to her school my last year. And she only needed like 35 credits to graduate or 38 credits to graduate, something ridiculously low. And so because I had already been going to the school where I had all of these credits because I needed way more credits to graduate, I was able to graduate early. I kid you guys not, I had like one class a day that I took. And one of those was even a walking class. I kid you not, it was a walking class. I like to joke around and tell people that, I got in trouble when I ran, but it was a walking class, man. It was the craziest thing. When they told me that I could go take a walking class, I was like, beam me up, Scotty. Let's freaking go. That's not, now we're talking. So, people making that bread, you're making potato bread. Yeah, man. Yeah. I love that. But so anyway, so I graduated early, and then I left for the Air Force. And the Air Force was like the real like job that I had, as I I left the potato plant that I was working at, and I went and had a couple other jobs. Worked at Albertsons. For those of you guys who know what Albertsons are or is, it's a grocery store. Then I went and worked at Hollister in the mall for a little bit. Hollister, I was making like $300 a month, and I was like, I thought I was balling, man. I remember one time, it was right after I met my wife, who I was dating at the time. My senior year, I was working at Hollister before I left for the military. I was making $350 a month. And I remember before Christmas, this was Christmas 2008. Yep, Christmas 2008. She wanted this pea coat at Hollister, and the pea coat, I remember, was like $320. And I was like, dude, I thought that coat, I was like, man, that coat is so expensive, bro. Like, I've got to work an entire month just to afford this thing. I remember I got her that pea coat that Christmas, but that's how I grew up thinking about money. And when I joined the Air Force, I kind of thought, the same thing. The way that I need to work this is I need to leverage the Air Force, I need to leverage the military, and I need to go to school on their dime, and then I need to stay in for 20 plus years, maybe even up to 30 years. And then I retire, and then maybe I take that knowledge and that experience, and then I just go, maybe I go work for Boeing or Lockheed Martin or something like that. And I continue working 40 to 50 hours a week for 40 to 50 years. And then I retire in my 60s. And so it was super interesting how that was my thought process, at least for the first 6 years. And then in 2015, I had a very unique opportunity. Now, mind you, those first 6 years of my experience in the military, I had done all sorts of stuff. I had gotten all sorts of accolades, leadership recognition, deployment, TDY awards, like all these things. My career was really on the up and up, especially for the first 6 years. And I remember still going into work at that 6 year mark, specifically that year, and thinking, man, like, I should be doing more. There's more that I'm capable of freaking doing. And maybe a lot of you guys watching right now can resonate with this. For those of you guys who have W-2s, when you look at your paycheck, what you're getting paid every freaking month or every 2 weeks, when you look at that, are you getting paid what you're worth? When you look at the house that you live in, when you look at the cars that you drive, when you look at the people that are in your network, are you satisfied? Are your friends the caliber of friends that are doing what you want to be doing? And if the answer is no, then that's when you know that you need to upgrade your friends. You need to go get better friends. And I had this epiphany in 2015. And I thought, man, you know what? There's more that I could be doing. There's more that I should be doing. When I'm looking at my paycheck every 2 weeks, I know I sure as hell am not getting paid what I'm worth. And it was interesting. I had this opportunity to go to a job fair. And I went to this job fair. There's probably about 150 people there. And it was for a branch of the federal government. It's called Operations of Special, gosh dang it, why am I drawing a blank on it now? It's called OSI, Office of Special Investigations. Sorry, brain fart. Office of Special Investigations, OSI. Now think of OSI like the FBI. So it's a federal agent. You become a federal agent, and the only difference is your jurisdiction is different, right? So there's really no difference between an OSI agent, the FBI, the CIA, the DEA, all those things. As a matter of fact, all of those candidates, when they get picked up, they go down to Glencoe, Georgia, I think, and they all kind of have their training together. And then after that, they split off, and the people who are CIA go train for specific CIA and DEA and FBI and OSI and all these other kind of things. So OSI, again, was kind of like it is the FBI, except with Air Force jurisdiction is what it is. So super neat opportunity. I go to this job fair for OSI, and I'm like, this is the cream of the crop. This is something that would be super, super neat that I would love to be involved in. This was something that would really put me in an uncomfortable position. And I remember at that job fair, the agents are kind of given a brief on what to expect, what OSI does, what their day-to-day looks like, all the things. And they said, right before they ended it, they said, everybody look around. Everybody look to your left. Now, everybody look to your right. Now, out of everybody in here, we're selecting one person to get hired. Now, we had everybody was in there from all ages, ranks, people who had been in for 15 years, people who had been in for, maybe 2 years, anything and everything, anybody and everything in between. Like, it was crazy. Just people of all sorts of calibers, qualifications, backgrounds, experiences. There was 150 people in there. And they said, we are hiring one person to move forward. And they said they one of the last things on the PowerPoint presentation was an email address. And they said, okay, everybody leaving here, submit your resumes by this date. I think they gave like a 2-week deadline. Said, submit your resumes to this email address. And so that's what we did. I got a phone call a couple weeks later and said, Jesse, you have been selected to come in and interview. Now, out of those 150 people, there was 10 people that they brought in for an interview. Luke, thanks for being here, buddy. I appreciate you. So I was one of those 10 people to be selected to come in and interview. And I remember just the weeks leading up to the interview, I was so nervous. Guys. I was just losing weight. I was anxious. I mean, my hair's grayed. Some of this gray is because of 2015. Yes, BB. Yep, that's Emery's. Okay, I'll help you in a second, okay? I'll help you in a second, Beeb. So I called my dad the day of the interview. I'm actually in the car on my way down to base to go meet at the OSI office for my interview. And I call my dad, and I am just so stinking nervous. Like palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. Like, that was me, dude. I was so freaking nervous. And Angel, what's going on? Thanks for being here. And I tell my dad, I'm like, Dad, like, I don't know what to do, dude. Like, I am scared. I know that this is what I should be doing because I'm obviously uncomfortable about it. But I don't know what this looks like. I don't know what to do. I mean, I am just so nervous. I've lost like 12 pounds this week alone. Hold on a sec, buddy. Nope. I'm going to take you guys. We're all going to go. So anyway, I'm so nervous. I'm telling my dad this, and my dad says, you know what? He gives me this, just the best piece of advice I've ever had. He's given me some great advice, and this is amongst some of the best advice I've ever had. And this is where my mindset journey started. And I want to share this with you. He said, Jesse, walk in there knowing that they need you more than you need them. Jesse, just because of who you are, the type of person you are, the way that you are, the way that you make friends, the way that you carry yourself, the value that you bring. Walk in there knowing that, hey, you know what? You need them, or they need you more than you need them. And it was so interesting, guys, because now whether that's true or not is irrelevant. But the fact that I believed it. Yeah, baby. Yep, have Emery. Oh. Sorry, guys, we're in the middle of potty training. My daughter's 2-year-old's coming up to me saying, hey, I want to wear undies. So anyway, now whether that was true or not was have Emery help you, baby. Yes. Here, come here. There you go. Whether that was true or not was completely irrelevant. It was, did I believe it? Did I freaking believe it? Now, here's something I want to share with you guys, because while I was in the military, I was also a resiliency instructor. And one thing that I learned while I was teaching these courses and these concepts, because resiliency is something that's huge in the military. I mean, suicide rates, especially the last handful of years in the military, has been higher than any other time. So developing these resiliency skills and these these mindset skills was something that was very crucial. So I had a very really neat and unique opportunity to specifically get in there and to be a resiliency instructor as well as certified resiliency instructor for the Air Force. And one of those things I learned was we all have these events that happen in our life. And it's really important to understand that these events that happen in our life, because they happen to all of us, but it's fair to assume that if 90% of millionaires are self-made, then all the stuff that they had to go through are similar to a lot of the things that we're going through. Just because they were successful and we're, you might think you're struggling or you might not get there. You will, because they had to do it too. Life just doesn't stop. A lot of people don't know, but I had an unforeseen, death in my family last week. And that was extremely hard. To be honest with everybody, I've never had to process, death like that before. Especially when it's kind of unforeseen. So we all have things. I don't share this with you for your, I don't share that with you for any other reason other than to say, hey, you know what? Everybody has things they're going through, regardless of what caliber you're at, regardless of what you have going on. We still have to press forward. And it's so important to understand that events are just that. They're just events. They're neither negative. They're neither positive. Let me give you an example real quick. Let's say that you're sitting in traffic and you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off. How do you feel when somebody cuts you off? Throw it in the comments, guys, for those of you guys who are still here. How do you feel if you're driving down the road, you're with your family, got your family in the car with you, you got some jackass that cuts you off? Pam's like mad as hell. Absolutely pissed. But what if you're just assuming you're the way that you perceive that event is you're just assuming that they are being a jackass, right? And so because you think that they are being a jackass, the way that you understand that, the way that you process that event triggers an emotion. And that emotion is dependent on how it is going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Depending on what that emotion is going to be how you react. Is going to trigger what your response is. Now, let me ask you guys, what if you later find out, or maybe even doesn't even have to be later finding out, maybe just in that moment, somehow that you knew that the person who cut you off was a father and his wife was in the passenger seat and they're on their way to the hospital right now because his wife is in labor. What are your feelings now about being cut off? Are you still pissed off at this person, or are you a little more considerate and understanding? Are you a little more, oh, hey, you know what? Go ahead, actually. Go ahead. As a matter of fact, let me help you. I mean, what else can I do? Right? So it's the events didn't change in there. So what changes your reaction? The way that you understand, the way that you perceive it, your mindset centered around that. And the way that your mindset is centered around those events will trigger positive or negative emotions. And those emotions will become the foundation for your reaction. Now, the reason I share this with you, I want to give you that context. You got a coin. Good job, BB. The reason I give you that context is because when I was on my way to this interview and I'm telling my dad this, and my dad is giving me this advice, and he says, Jesse, just go in there knowing that they need you. You bring more value to them than they will bring to you. Now, again, whether that's true or not is irrelevant. It's what was my perception of it? Did I believe that or not? And because he said that, and because I believed it, my emotions around it changed. I'm no longer anxious. My palms aren't sweaty. the way that I understand and think about that event now, I almost walked in there like I was their boss. And it was so interesting how I went from being this scared and anxiety filled individual to just thinking about that event differently. My entire demeanor did a complete 180. I now commanded that room. I get to the OSI building. I get brought into the room. Now, in this room, it's a great big white room. And there's a chair that's sitting in the middle of it. And it was almost like an interrogation room. It was almost kind of intimidating. But there, imagine walking into this room, and it's bigger than it needs to be. It's this big room. There's a chair that's sitting right in the middle of it. And then at the front of the room is a big, long desk. And there was about 6 or 7 special agents that were sitting up there. Pretty intimidating. And I walk in there and I sit in that chair, and I'm probably sitting in that chair for somewhere between an hour and probably an hour and 15 minutes or so. And for an hour and 15 minutes, they're just freaking sitting there pinging questions off. Boom, 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 boom. And guys, here's what's really cool about it. After that interview, I walked out, and later that night, I get a phone call. And he said, Jesse, and it was so funny because, as a matter of fact, the agent's name was Special Agent Stanton, which I've never met another Stanton in my life, let alone, somebody in this position. So it was kind of funny. But he said, this is Special Agent Stanton. And he said, how do you think you did? I said, well, I put my best foot forward. And he kind of chuckled, and he's like, well, we think you did pretty good. He's like, you're moving on. So out of 150 people, I was the one that got selected. Now, I don't say this to brag. I want to share something else with you guys that you guys don't have context to. There were other more qualified individuals for this position. There were other people that had, bachelor's degrees. They had experience in criminal justice. They had all this stuff. I didn't even have my bachelor's. As a matter of fact, I was working on my degree. And at the time, my degree that I was going to get was in human resources. Had nothing to do with criminal justice. Had nothing to do with the law. I knew nothing other than, I've seen a couple police academy movies, and I've seen cops before. That was my experience. But this just goes to show you, I want to really hammer down on this, and I want to paint this picture. How freaking important it is to consider how you perceive yourself. How important it is to consider what you think you are capable of. Because more often than not, the reason that you aren't where you want to be has nothing to do with who you think you are. It's simply who you think you are not. If you don't think you're the type of individual that can go in and beat out 150 people, that's the type of shit that's holding you back. If you think you're not the type of individual who can start a podcast, or who can go stream live, or who can call sellers, or who can go just do something just so, out of their comfort zone, then that's the type of stuff that's freaking holding you guys back. And I just wanted to share this with you because it was something that was so impactful for me. It literally changed my entire life. It changed what I thought I was capable of doing. It changed who I thought I was capable of becoming. And just having that one thought. And that's what people mean when they say having one conversation with the right individual can change your entire life. And for me, in a lot more ways than one, that was my dad. And for him to say something like that, it was, I still can't even describe it. It's something that I think about it all the time. All the time. And I just wanted to share it because it serves as a constant reminder for me. It's almost like I have a shoulder angel every morning and every day that I wake up, and everything that I'm doing, he's in there just whispering that same thing that my dad told me. And again, I just want to, I don't, I'm not getting on here to brag. I want to be able to showcase some of the things that I've done and some of the things I've learned, because I grew up probably how a lot of you grew up, especially when it, comes to, thinking about money and thinking about doing something so far out of your comfort zone that, you think you probably can't do it, or you're not qualified to do it, or anything like that. Beating out a lot of other people who had degrees and had experience in criminal justice and all these other kind of things, it was really neat to see how I could go in there and just take control of my mind and what I thought I was capable of. And I'm going to tell you guys, like, I walked in there just thinking, like, in my head, I was their boss. And me thinking that I was their boss and of a panel of 7 other agents, like, I was just so calm and cool and collective. I almost, it was almost just like sitting back in the chair and almost kicking. I didn't kick my feet up, but in my head, I'm kicking my feet up, and I'm like, all right, guys, what are we dishing about today? What do we got going on? What's new? What's good? Give me the deets. How's the day going? What'd you have for breakfast, John? Most people, wouldn't think to necessarily act like that, but in my head, that's what was going on. And because of that, I mean, it really transformed how I presented myself, how I communicated, how I articulated certain things. I remember specifically, they were asking me, like, how, give me 2 words that describe yourself, or 3 words, whatever it was. It was something to that effect. And I said, yeah, no problem. As a matter of fact, I'll give you 5. And so where most people, in that situation, just as an example, would spat out, probably take probably a couple seconds and probably spat out 2 words to accommodate them. But because in my head, I was their boss, I was so much more comfortable, and it came through and everything. Oh, as a matter of fact, I want to share this with you real quick. So after I did this, my supervisor and everything got pulled in after they called me that night and told me that I was moving forward. They ended up calling my supervisors in, people I went to church with, friends, all these other kind of things. And I'll get it in a second, BB. Hold on a sec. And my supervisors came back and they told me, Jesse, this is absolutely incredible. When I talked with the special agents who interviewed you, they said, not only did you interview better than everybody else who interviewed that day, than all those 10 people, but the special agents told me that you interviewed better than all 7 special agents did when they were in your position applying for the job. That's what really, like, solidified this for me. When I heard that feedback, that right there, it let me know that I was really onto something. And nothing like that's what's cool about this whole thing, guys, is like when it comes to like thinking that you don't have the skills or the value to lead, to bring to somebody. Those types of things are what's holding you back. So that's all I'm getting at. Just there's just so much to be grateful for, and there's so many opportunities out there and things to take advantage of, and most people just don't do it because they think that they're not capable of doing it. And because they think they're not capable of doing it, they think, maybe I'm not going to get it anyway. They don't even try it. And because they don't even try, you have that snowball effect that happens to you, where you start to have like more negative thoughts, and then that hinders you even more. But if you can get out and you can take that leap of faith and you can see yourself in a different light, it's one of the best exercises, and we do it here in my coaching program, is we have I give this worksheet to my clients, and it focuses on our future self. What type of traits do we exhibit? Who do we see ourselves in 5 years? What type of car are we driving? What type of house do we live in? What type of coffee is everybody drinking in the morning? We get really, really, really specific. And you have to be that specific. And you take all those things and you ponder it. What type of skills are you doing? What type of meetings are you having? How do you carry yourself? How do you, if you're like, I use this example just because I know there's a lot of people, for example, who don't like going live on social media. in 5 years from now, that you see yourself as a successful person, this millionaire running these multi-million-dollar businesses and et cetera, is that person afraid of going on social media? Is that person afraid of reaching out to this person? Is this person, and they're like, no, not at all. And one of the best exercises you can do is to put yourself in that mindset and start doing what you'd be doing in 5 years. Start doing it now. Start doing it today. Are you waking up early or are you sleeping in? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are those habits? What do those skills look like? And just start doing it now. That's the craziest thing. I think a lot of people think that they have to build this business up to a certain standard before they start waking up earlier, for example. I know a lot of people who wake up at 6, 7, 8, 9, and they tell me that, hey, you know what, there's no reason for me to wake up earlier now because my business isn't at a place where I need to. But if you can understand that the fastest way to get to where you're trying to go is just think about what you're going to be doing in a year from now. Think about what does that successful person look like? What does the millionaire version of you look like? And what are they doing? And just start doing that stuff now. And it's so crazy because when you put yourself in that mindset, I just want to use this example. And that's why I wanted to share that story with you, because as somebody who grew up thinking, really honestly, and I'm not kidding you guys, thinking that I wasn't anybody. I didn't think much of myself. I was somebody who kind of hung out in the crowd, a little timid, didn't like standing out at all. And never in a million years thought I was somebody that was capable of going in and applying for a federal agent position and getting selected to move forward in that process. And so just that was a huge moment for me, and something that really solidified how I process information now and what I'm capable of doing. Because everybody in here is capable of great things. What's so awesome about this whole life experience is everybody who's watching right now and everybody who will continue watching in the future, there's only one you. There's only one you. And there will only ever be one you. There will only be one version of you ever to live. There will be only one version of you to think the way that you do, to process information the way that you do. Nobody else can replicate that. That's what's so freaking awesome. And to go through this life and live below what you think you're capable of doing is a complete waste. So not to like turn this whole thing into like a motivational thing or whatever, but just some things that I've learned and pondered, especially over the last week with that unexpected loss. But if anybody needs help, please reach out. I'm happy to be a resource any way I can. If you guys would love more information, if you guys aren't already, please go subscribe to my YouTube channel so you guys don't miss more, stuff like this. Hopefully this helped you guys. Hopefully it gave you some context and, some things to think about. And then if you're not in our free Facebook group, go join the Growth Co with Jesse Stanton. Go join our Facebook group. We just opened it up to everybody else. We're going to be doing a lot of really cool things in there and bringing more people up and kind of doing hot seats and helping people kind of digest and process and, structure their day and talk about more mindset stuff and, hurdles they have going on in their life and in their business and all that kind of stuff, man. So, please, if you guys are not over there and you think you'd benefit from that, please head on over there. We also have our coaching. Our next coaching class is starting on Wednesday, actually in 2 days. So we've got like 2 spots left. If anybody is interested, please feel free to reach out. Love to have you guys. I appreciate you. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your Monday. I've actually got to go. I'm I meant for this thing to be over 20 minutes ago, but I appreciate you guys. Again, if you guys are in Anchorage or if you guys are in Alaska, hit me up. We're meeting out in Wasilla to grab some pizza in 8 minutes from now. And I gotta get my kids in the truck. So anyway, hope you guys have an awesome night. Please hit me up. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you. I love you.